We do the 2 o'clock performance, and then this woman who played this like super duper frumpy character who's part of like this book club that's reading 50 Shades of Grey, she gets sick and she's like, I have one more show in me. People had already started to come into the theater. We had just finished the 2 o'clock show, but like the audience was already outside and they're in the lobby getting drinks. And, there are like bachelorette parties, of course, because
Yeah, of
it's
course.
50 Shades musical
I
parody.
bet those were wild
Um,
audiences.
they really were. They really were. The stage manager sort of pulls me aside and he says, "Can you go on for Pam?" And there I am in like my sparkle bra. And I'm like, no, I don't understudy that part. I can't do that. And he's like, but could you do it anyway? And I don't know why was a terrible people pleaser, still am a little bit, but I said yes. Nearly everyone will benefit from working out in a lot of ways, not just in their
Yeah.
physical health, but also just in terms of their performance at work and their ability to kind of show up better and their relationships, be more emotionally regulated. So, a lot of people I work with, fitness is a big part of it. Work habits too, just
Hmm.
instilling those right habits. Making sure you're kind of doing your hardest work first, that you have structure in your day. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners who just sort of have these wishy-washy schedules, and it's very helpful to actually, put structure into that.
So the big question is this: how are creators like us, who aren't built for the 9 to 5, for the people who put their passion before them being comfortable, how do we turn that passion into a living that pays the bills and a life that we love? That is the question. This podcast will give you the answers. My name is Noah Mittman, and welcome to Conversations with Creators.
Welcome back to Conversations with Creators. I am Noah Mittman, your host, and joining me today is somebody I've known a very, very long time. Back when I was a curly-haired, probably pretty annoying teenager. Casey Rogers I've known her from Belasco Theatre Company way back in the day. Casey, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think what the first or the last year that we were like doing shows together. It was probably 2006, 5.
I think even earlier.
Or was it earlier than that? Oh my God.
Yeah. I think my last show with Belasco was like 2003 or 4.
Wow.
So we old.
Yeah. We are getting old. Um, so tell me about a little bit about your kind of journey from, it's all kind of your life story, but like from kids theater with Belasco to kind of the trip to, so you've been a Broadway performer. Now you are a health and fitness coach. And yeah, tell me about that journey.
Yeah. Well, I am an accountability coach now, so it is
Yes.
it is health and fitness and also so much more. But yeah, it was a wild ride getting here. Definitely could not have predicted what I'm doing now. I don't even think it existed
Right.
back when
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
could have predicted it. But yeah, so I grew up doing theater. The reason I did it is because I had an older cousin who was doing theater, and she was like super cool and older. So I was like, well, I want to be super cool and older. So I guess I'll do theater too. So started doing Belasco at age 5. That's a theater company. And
Wow.
then,
5.
yeah, I know I was the youngest
Holy
person in the company.
crap.
Yeah, I
That's
wanted to join
insane.
even sooner, but Eddie, the director, said you had to be 5 in order to participate. And I think he just kind of made that up on the fly, but I turned 5
Probably.
and I went up to him and I tapped him and I was like, Eddie, I'm 5 now, so can I do this? And he was like, I guess. But yeah, so I just started when I was 5 and just never stopped. And theater was always a part of my life. And then at some point, in high school, I started to get more serious about it and a little more focused. And I decided I really want to turn this into a career. And so I went off to New York City in 2006, went to NYU, did their theater program, Cap 21. which was their musical theater program at the time. I believe it no longer exists, but I was very excited about it back in 2006. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to graduate with a job. This is kind of a whole crazy story how I got that. Maybe we'll shelf that for a second, but yeah, graduated with a job. So I started in the national tour of Greece. And I was on the road for 3 years, and
I
then I
just gotta
did some
say, of
stuff in New
course it
York.
was Greece. Of course.
It's
How
always
many
Greece.
times did you do Greece in Belasco?
Oh my God. I think in the course of my life, I've been in Greece like 7 to 8 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Also,
It
like,
prints
I
money. I get
mean,
it.
it prints money. I gotta be honest, I don't love Grease as a musical. I think the book is terrible. I mean, I guess the songs are good. I don't know. Not my favorite, but tis the
I just
life of an
watched it.
actor.
I just watched it the other night, and it was like getting late, but I still know every single damn lyric to the hand jive.
Oh yeah.
My wife was looking at me like, "Wow, you really did this." I'm like, "Yeah, a lot." Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
So yes, you started with Greece and then kind of kept rolling with it.
Yeah, and then just kept going, and, at a certain point, I realized, I didn't want to do this forever.
Hmm.
It's an amazing life, but it's super duper exhausting, and, there's just no consistency. You're a
Yeah.
gypsy, you never know where you're gonna be in 6 months, and you don't sleep enough, and drink too much, and it's just a wild ride. So it was very, very fun while it lasted, but I definitely, was ready to leave the industry when I did. And at that point, I was already kind of so exhausted that I didn't want to start from the bottom and work my way up in a whole other industry, working at the front desk, being a secretary, all of these things. I was like, no, like I've already done all of this, I've put in so much work. So I decided to go down the entrepreneurial path. And yeah, now I've been a coach for about 8 years, and it's fabulous. And I love it. And it very much feels like exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and still
Yeah,
highly
100%.
creative, just in a different way.
Absolutely. So I will I just because I don't think I've so few friends who have actually made it to Broadway. So I do want to ask a little bit more about that because that's like super interesting to me. Just to look into the world a little bit. And we will definitely get to some of the coaching stuff. Um, you talked about kind of the demanding schedule. How do you, for somebody that's maybe looking to get into theater, how do you maintain your like physical and mental well-being during a show run?
That is a great question. And that's also one of the reasons that I got into coaching, is because like I really had to figure that out for myself. It is such a crazy schedule, especially with the touring. I was on tour for 3 years straight.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, it's insane. Like, some of the tours I was on were great, and you do like 2 week sit downs in a cool, super cool city, and they put you up in nice accommodations. And then I was also in bus and truck tours where it was like you'd have a 2 week stint of one nighters. So, they wake you up at 5 in the morning, you're on the bus, you drive all day on the bus, you get to the theater at 3 p.m. You do a sound check, you wait around for a little while, show at 7, done by 9:30. They bus you back to a hotel, you go to bed, and you wake up and you do it all over again. And it is crazy, and just night after
Yeah,
night after night.
that is
So
insane.
yeah. So like, if you're going to stay healthy and survive, you really have to become an expert in taking care of yourself and figuring out how to sleep, how to rest, how to prioritize exercise, how to obtain food that isn't fast food. Like
Yeah.
all of these things become really, really challenging. But yeah, so through the course of that, I did get very good at taking care of myself. I was vegan the whole time that I was on tour, which like everyone seems like they're plant-based now, but back then it was like a very eccentric thing to do. And I'd like go into a restaurant and I'd be like, are there any vegan items on the menu? And they'd be like, we have chicken salad. Like, oh, that's kind of where that was at that point in
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it was
But
a lot of salads.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it taking care of yourself looks different every single day. But the thing that's consistent amidst all of that is just cultivating an awareness of taking care of yourself. Because if you
Yeah,
don't go out of your way, you will just eat fast food every single day. Every single meal will be Subway. You will get 4 hours of sleep. You will drink way, way, way too much, and you will absolutely wreck your body.
yeah. The it seems like the hard work and party lifestyle definitely takes a toll after a while.
Yeah.
Especially putting out that much energy every single day is I mean, it makes, it's why I've heard that, Broadway actors and, big time musical acts and all that, it's kind of like being a professional athlete because you're,
Yeah.
sweating a ton during the show, you're doing your whole thing, and then you got to do it again night after night after night, and sometimes two times. And that's
Yeah.
just, it's a lot.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot. And yeah, and I feel like I was like pretty good at it. I feel like I was like pretty good at taking care of myself, but like looking back at that in retrospect, like I also ate horribly and drank too much and didn't sleep enough and all of the things. So it's like it's just yeah, it's wild.
It's nice that you can do that when you're younger though, because it's like I just hit 34 and I'm like, for the first time in my life, I'm like, oh crap, I weigh too much. I need to like work on this. So being able to have the fun when your body can handle it a little bit more when you're younger is it's the time to do it, I feel like.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. And I think I always kind of knew that in the back of my head. I was like, this is just for now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of amazing that people that like, are in it for their whole lives and are, in their 60s and 70s doing shows and touring and stuff. That's like a whole different, you gotta really, really, really want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. What's like a particularly memorable or challenging moment on stage that you can remember from the time? Even because you were in a couple different shows, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the one that comes to mind, this is a crazy thing that happened. So I was doing this was off Broadway. I was doing a musical parody of 50 Shades of Grey. And I was like deeply involved with that show. I started sort of at the beginning. I was doing workshops and then I got picked up for off Broadway and funded and blah blah blah. And so it was like a long road with the show, and I knew the show very well. I was also dance captain, which people don't know what that is. It's sort of like a pseudo directorial kind of role, stage manager type of thing, but only for the musical numbers. So you just kind of
Hmm.
maintain the integrity of the musical numbers and make sure that, everyone's hitting their marks and whatnot. And so I probably of all the cast members, I knew the show better than anyone else. But so I played this character called the Inner Goddess, and I like, wore like a sparkle bra and like strutted around stage. And I was supposed to be like the embodiment of the main character and like her sort of most like self-actualized self. And then I also understudied some roles in addition to the dance captaining
You
and
put a
all of
lot
that.
of work in.
Yes, definitely. And so this is crazy. We had 3 show days on Saturdays. We had a 2 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, and an 8 o'clock. So it was just
Oh
like
my
boom,
God.
boom, boom. Yeah, very exhausting. But so we were in this kind of transitional period in the show where a lot of people had just left. So we were putting a lot of new people in, and there was just a lot of crossover, and we lost a lot of people all at once. So there was a bit of chaos, and I was like working really long days at that point. I was at the theater all day and then performing at night, and then these 3 show Saturdays. So we do the 2 o'clock performance, and then this woman who played this like super duper frumpy character who's part of like this book club that's reading 50 Shades of Grey. Is like a frumpy woman in her late 50s. So she gets sick, and she's like, I have one more show in me. I can do the 5 o'clock or I can do the 8 o'clock, but I am so sick and I can only do one show. And so the stage manager says like, well, I think it's got to be the 8 because that show is sold out. And like, that's sort of the premium show, 8 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah. Prime time.
And yeah. And so people had already started to come into the theater. We had just finished the 2 o'clock show, but like the audience was already outside and they're in the lobby getting drinks. And, there are like bachelorette parties, of course.
Yeah, of course.
50 Shades musical parody.
I bet those were wild audiences.
They really were. But yeah, so anyway, everyone's like, oh no, well, I guess we have to cancel the show. I guess that's it. And like people are frantically calling the producers, what do we do? And then the stage manager sort of pulls me aside and he says, can you go on for Pam? And there I am in like my sparkle bra. And I'm like, no, I don't understudy that part. I can't do that. And he's like, but could you do it anyway? And I don't know why was a terrible people pleaser, still am a little bit, but I said yes. And so I had like 30 minutes to go on for a role that I did not understudy, had never done before. They threw me in someone else's costume, in someone else's wig, and 30 minutes later, I was literally on stage doing a part that wasn't my part. And they, had someone else go on for the Intergoddess.
I knew you knew the show, but like, because that sounds like every theater nightmare I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I'm like, don't know the part.
Yeah. I was like making up harmonies on the spot. Like,
Did you know the lines though?
Well, so the thing was, I'd heard the show so many times where like, obviously I knew every single line in the show, but I'd never like played her part and said those words aloud. So like, a line would happen and then there'd be like a 2-second pause and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Pam's line. And so then I would say her line. And it was just like, it was so crazy and just like such a huge reversal too. So I was like putting these like mom gyms with like this big wig and it was absolutely wild. It was so intense. But I did it and nothing went terribly wrong. I certainly missed a couple harmonies. Some lines were stilted, I'm sure, but it happened and I did it.
But it worked. You stumbled through.
Yeah, it worked. And then I went back on for the Intergoddess that night. And then the cast took me out and we all got tequila shots. And I said, oh my God, this is a crazy career. I need to leave.
Yeah, that is probably the wildest thing that can potentially happen in a show is going on for a part that you only kind of know at the professional level.
Yeah, with literally zero preparation.
Yeah,
just
zero.
Figuring it out as you're doing it.
Oh my God. And I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's funny you said the kind of harmonies were off, but like I feel like that would be the least of what people would like see, but like anybody I guess like, okay, this is sounding a little bit different, but we're rolling with it. But you got through it, which is the main thing.
Got through it. It all worked out. Yeah.
Hey friends, it's your podcast buddy Noah Midman here, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about one of my passion projects, my clothing brand, Clothing for Creators. Roll the tape.
If my life were a movie, the hero's big speech would end with, stop waiting, start creating. Because that's the drive behind my story. Like when I couldn't afford to finish film school. So instead, I started my own production company and gave myself a trial by fire YouTube business degree. And it's not just me with these kinds of stories. There is this growing movement of passionate, creative, flow state writing, hustling, persistent creators and entrepreneurs that are taking the internet and the world by storm.
Everybody told me I wasn't going to be able to make any money as an artist. Now, 15 years later, I've worked on 3 continents. I do own my house. My shop, I'm booked out 8 months ahead. I don't subscribe to being a starving artist.
Creativity and I are very deep, dark lovers. I've just decided I'm just going to make stuff. And even if it's not perfect, like, it's getting made.
You're going to think that there's right answers and there's not. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Let's just throw dye on it and it'll look great.
You don't need rules some old guy in a suit made up. You don't need anyone telling you that your voice doesn't matter. We are makers, creative types, side hustlers, doers. Why? Because we get shit done.
The most important thing every single day is just to get your shit done.
Just keep doing it, keep producing, keep creating, and as you do that, you're gonna start becoming the person that you want to be.
Don't be scared to try. Commit. You can't half-ass do something. We're full-ass around here.
So there's a film you need to make, a company you need to create, a voice you need to share, a product you know the world needs. Put all of yourself into it until anyone who has ever doubted you starts asking you for a job. Then you get to play for a living. You get to create community.
Partnerships, collaborations, building bonds with people that like the same stuff you like.
You get to live with your heart on your sleeve, a smile on your face, and a solid answer to when anybody asks, why do you do what you do?
Sometimes you have to say fuck all the rules to get something that you really need to get out of yourself.
You don't need the opinion of the old guy in the suit.
You have to give yourself permission to just go. A little less conversation, a little more action.
Clothing for creators. Go check out snowmanfilms.shop today.
Hey there, fellow creatives. Conversations with Creators dives deep into the minds of successful filmmakers, artists, musicians, and all-around awesome people. We are looking for some kick-ass sponsors to help us keep this show on the road. If you want to reach a tribe of dedicated listeners who are just as passionate about creating as you are, then look no further. Our audience is full of people who appreciate a good laugh and are always on the lookout for new ways to fuel their creativity. So, let's team up and create some magic together. We'll work with you to make sure that your brand is showcased in the best light possible. And who knows, maybe we'll even become lifelong friends. Just imagine, years from now, we'll be reminiscing about the good old days when we first teamed up to take the world by storm. Send us an email at noah@snowmanfilms.net to say hey and get the ball rolling. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, so tell me about the transition to coaching and accountability and stuff. What kind of drew you to that?
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of built off of my personal experiences because it was just such a crazy life that all of that stuff was what kept me sane. And when I say all that stuff, I mean, just all the things that kind of make you a well-balanced person, just taking care of yourself, exercise, sleep, eating well, following through on your personal goals, because that's the whole thing with theater is like it's a very easy life to get super enmeshed within, and you just start to crowd out everything that's not theater. And so sort of finding balance, being able to, really stay accountable to your entire self, not just like this one little part of you. So I got really interested in like, what does it take to create that, to maintain that? How do you build good habits? How do you follow through on those good habits? And so I just sort of built it from the ground up. I can't believe it's been, I guess it's almost 9 years now. It's been really great and it's super fulfilling. I loved performing. I loved theater, but it just felt like so much suffering was involved in it, like your body hurts, and like I said before, you just don't have a lot of bandwidth for other goals that you have. And,
especially if you're touring, I feel like that. I mean, that's not only is it like all of your time, but then like that's literally your life because you're traveling around. It's like, kind of like a circus. Because I assumed that it was funny. I assumed that it was like at one spot for the show, but no, it makes sense that you're touring around. You're going city to city. It's an insane schedule. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot. And I had no consistency. I was not in serious relationships. I didn't have consistent friends. I never lived in one apartment. And, you know, like those were other goals I had too. And they just constantly got crowded out by all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, and then
Were you
this
making
feels,
like a decent living with it, or was it, you know, kind of scraping by on bills as well?
I mean, I was like, I wasn't able to put anything away really.
Yeah.
So, by the standards of the time, I felt I probably just because I was like, yay, I'm like living life, I'm doing it by myself. But, like, you know, it felt like enough, but it wasn't. I mean, between contracts, like I always had 5 jobs, you know.
Yeah. That makes
That's like
sense.
another reason I got into coaching is like between contracts, I would do like, you know, I was like the assistant to a dating coach for a while and all
Yeah.
sorts of just like weird little side hustles. So yeah, I was always kind of hand to mouth, which was fine at the time. I was in my early 20s. It was like, you know, I was happy to hustle, but I never stopped hustling.
Yeah. Tell me the where's the origin of the name Health on the Rocks? Because I think it's a great name.
Thank you. Yeah. So I sort of liked the double entendre of like, you know, it's on the rocks, but also like maybe it's on a cocktail, you know. So it's sort of
Yeah.
like both things at once. But yeah, and you know, when I think of the word health, I think of health in kind of all of the ways. So it's like your physical health, it's your mental health, but also, you know, it's your financial health and it's the health of
Mm.
your business and it's the health of your relationships. And so
Okay, so it's like a
it's
really
sort of,
rounded, full life thing.
yeah, I mean, coaching, the mechanism is the same, but it's applicable to kind of everything. It all just comes down to like creating awareness and good habits and just getting you from point A to point B. But yeah, I kind of like the fact that sort of like it takes it from on the rocks to on the rocks.
It's with spirit fingers, it's with the show hands.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. Yeah.
What are the kind of foundational things that you start people out with, or that you kind of mastered within yourself to get this started in terms of the different? I mean, are there like pillars of it, or is it kind of customized to the specific person that you're coaching?
Yeah, so it's very different for every person. It all kind of comes down to what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. I mean, I think like the consistent theme is sort of looking at yourself holistically, which we actually tend to be very bad at doing here in America. You know, we tend to
Yeah.
get, you know, really fixated on one thing in our lives. For a lot of people, that's work. I work with a lot of people who are dealing with burnout, and just have really pushed all of their personal goals by the wayside. But focusing on just finding more balance and prioritizing the things that are going to make you more fulfilled, happier, and just give you like a fuller, richer life.
Yeah. What are some accountability tips that like are your favorite that you like to tell people that are just starting out with like trying to get more into the rhythm of it?
I think the biggest thing is that when people are creating habits, people tend to get very fixated on motivation. They're like, oh, well,
Mm.
if I just have enough motivation, then I can do all of these things. And then somehow the motivation never seems to be there when they need it, or it's there for 2 weeks and then it just, you know, goes somewhere after two
Yeah,
weeks. And so motivation is actually super duper unreliable. It's kind of this
correct.
wishy-washy friend, comes and
It's
goes
kind
on
of
its own
like a
schedule.
theater career. It's there sometimes, it's not other times. Hey.
Exactly. So yeah, so I think you know, if you really are trying to create better habits, you know, not relying on motivation is a very good thing. So setting
Yeah,
up this kind of external accountability structure for you where it's not just up to your will, you know, to hit the alarm clock and get up and meditate and work out and call an old friend and do all these things, work on your
yeah,
business, but you know, actually having things that ensure you're going to do it. So, you know, if you're trying to work out in the mornings, get a personal trainer that you pay who's going to be there waiting for you. So you have to get your butt out of bed. So
yeah.
taking the motivation piece out of it as much as you can is a really good place to start.
No, I think that's a great point of like, you need something external. 'Cause again, one of my favorite quotes is like, discipline is what takes over when motivation leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Because discipline is actually what gets stuff done. Motivation is great to have on a day, but like it's not always there. But no, so I like that, you know, bringing in external systems to help you when the stuff is hard. Because even I'm one of the most motivated people that I know in my life, and I
Mm.
have off days too. So like having, you
Oh
know,
my God, you must be
coaches.
human.
I know, how dare I? But no, I mean, even just like, you know, a schedule and
Mhm.
what are the biggest places that you see people needing help with like that? So obviously fitness is a big one. What are some other
Yeah.
ones?
Yeah, fitness is really big. Nearly everyone will benefit from working out in a lot of ways, not just in their
Yeah.
physical health, but also just in terms of their performance at work and their ability to kind of show up better in their relationships, be more emotionally regulated. So, you know, a lot of people I work with, you know, fitness is a big part of it. You know, work habits too, just
Mm,
instilling those right habits. You know, making sure you're kind of doing your hardest work first, that you have structure in your day. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners who just sort of have these wishy-washy schedules, and it's very helpful to actually, you know, put structure into that.
yeah.
And yeah, just coming up with little habits throughout your day. You know, a lot of people want to start eating better. We'll talk about that. Sleep, of course, is very, very important. And also too, just kind of making strategic decisions as things pop up in life. Yeah, it's so different for every person. And you know, it's all very goal oriented. So the goal is different with every person,
Mm,
but it's finding a goal, clarifying that goal, and then creating the systems and the habits that get you from, again, point A to point B.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. It brings up kind of an idea for me with on the, you know, being a business owner and stuff of like the marketing side of things. How did you get the business up and running, and like what's been working for you to kind of get clients with it?
Hmm. Well, luckily now I'm at a place where I actually don't do a ton of marketing. You know,
Nice.
the business is kind of self-sustaining, so it's a lot of referrals. Also, too, the way I work, I don't have any sort of like coaching packages or minimum time commitments. I just tell people like this goes month to month. I'm on retainer. Stay as long as it's helpful, and when it stops being helpful, like great, we've reached the goal and we've done the job. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and depending on the goal, it's going to take a totally different amount of time. So if someone's starting a business from the ground up, I can't say like, okay, you will have a business that will be perfect and humming along in 6 weeks. That's insane. But you know, another
Shit,
person,
even
it might
six
only
months.
take 6 weeks. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I at this point I have some people who I've been working with for like 6 years.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, it is super
Yeah.
cool. I mean, like, and it's amazing too, because like I know them so well. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
can be such a good accountability coach to them because I know all of their things. I know all their little rackets that they play. So yeah,
Which is probably why
it's
you've been
super
on for
fun.
so long. Is because you've learned the people and you learn what works, and it's just it's great that you're, you know, able to stay with them long term, because that's a hard thing to do. Like even I used to have kind of a subscription program for video, and like the general turnaround was about 6 months. So which is, you know, solid, but like man, if you're
Yeah.
it shows that you're effective with what you do if people are with you for years on end. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think making progress gets really addictive, you know. So it's like you conquer
Yeah.
one goal and then you're like, ooh, what else is out there? What else can I do? Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and it's fun for you, and it's, you know, you're finding a balance, especially with being a newer mom. And
Mhm.
congratulations, by the way. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Has it affected your schedule at all with the coaching stuff?
Nope, not at all. Everything is exactly the same. Nothing changed. Just kidding. No, being a
I was
mom
like, I
changes
know she's
everything.
lying. Has your son started walking yet, or no? No, 1 year old, maybe a little early for that, yeah?
He's very close. He's very close
Very
to
close, yeah.
walking. Not there yet, but we're getting there. Yeah. So I'm very excited and also a little terrified.
It listen, it's fun because you get to like do more stuff with them, but it's also, they're not just, oh, I put you down here and you stay there.
Yep. Yeah.
Or you're moving very slowly so I can still watch you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine are at the tree climbing stage, so that's, we
Oh,
have a good tree around, so they're confident with it. I don't yell at them, but it's like, as long as you're being safe, you're okay.
yeah. Good. Well, the kids that are most afraid of heights aren't the ones who have never climbed a tree. They're the ones who have fallen out of trees and survived. So there you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Fair enough. They're being careful, and I'm happy with it. That's I guess it's hard because we're in the mountains, so there's trees everywhere. So it's like, listen, I climbed a fair amount of trees as a kid, and I get it, and it's fun, and just be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you again?
I'm in Evergreen, Colorado.
Yeah, man,
Where are you now?
that sounds beautiful. I'm
It
right
is
outside the city. I'm in a little town called Beacon.
nice. Out of New York.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were. It's funny too because you texted me this morning, and it was like I was up at 5 this morning, and I was about to text back like, "Oh, early riser," and then I was like, "Wait, she's in New York. It's not that early
No, don't give me too much credit.
there." Yeah, no,
Yeah, I hope I
Evergreen's
didn't wake you up.
awesome. No, I that's one of the things with the motivation stuff is getting up early. I've generally found to make me feel better and more productive through the day. Actually, I feel better getting
Mm,
up at 5 than I do at 7 or 8.
awesome. Good for you. That's
Once you
great.
work through like the first, bit of the first week sucks, and
Yeah.
then your body gets used to it. And the problem is I can't sleep in anymore.
Yeah, I'm
On
that
like a
way too.
weekend. Outside of your career and everything, what's a hobby that like lets you forget about it all and kind of get into your own world?
Hmm. Um, Big hiker, love hiking. It's become a little more logistically complicated with an 11-month-old, but most of the time just throw them on the pack and go for it. Do a lot of yoga. I love yoga
Nice.
and big reader. I like reading.
Yeah,
Both
that's
both
not a
fiction
bad thing.
and nonfiction. Yeah. Yeah, I try to spend very little time on other people's social media. I spend a lot of time working on my social media, but I don't spend a ton of time scrolling these
Yeah,
days. So I like to replace all that time with like actual reading, which has been amazing.
yeah, absolutely. What's been a favorite book recently?
So I'm reading this book right now that's actually very good. I'm very into it. I just finished Brave New World, which I'd never read
Hmm.
before. And that was good, still holds up. But oh, what's it called? It's about this woman who's writing like an authorized autobiography of this Hollywood star. It's fiction. I don't think it's like great fiction, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. That's super fun. Reading definitely. I love. It's funny reading to the generally like out loud or even like eyes wise on a book. It puts me to sleep, but audiobooks are great.
Yeah, yeah. I love a good audiobook.
Like I will
Although
literally start
interestingly,
yawning when I'm reading with the kids. It's interesting. Like
really,
immediately.
the sign of a man who wakes up at 5 a.m.
Right, yeah, exactly. You can talk a big game about getting up at 5 a.m., but then when you crash at 9, yeah. It works. It gets you into an earlier cycle.
Yeah, nothing wrong with going to bed at 9.
Hey, listen, I'm a big fan of it. So, lastly, let me kind of roll out the red carpet for you. Let everybody know what's going on in your life and what you're
Oh
excited about.
my. Um, what I'm excited about, well, I mean, being with my son right now is super exciting. He's in a very
100%.
fun developmental age. He's developing a whole personality, which is a double-edged sword, but mostly just a ton of fun. Very excited about that. Headed to Peru in 2 weeks, which will be super fun.
Wow.
Yeah, little family vacay in Peru.
Where at?
Um, Colca Canyon, Lake Titicaca, and Cusco.
Yeah, so all the classics.
All the spots, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I went to
Uh,
a couple years ago. I went to the Amazon rainforest for a documentary shoot, and
Oh,
Peru was a wild experience.
yeah. It's an amazing place. It's a
Yeah.
magical place.
How many have you been there before?
I have, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Can't stay away.
How many times have you been there?
This is just the second
Just
time.
once. Okay.
I've been
Yeah,
there a
cool.
ton. Yeah. And I hope it's not the last. I hope we keep
No,
going back
no,
to Peru over and over again.
no. You got a favorite spot? For me, it's Ireland. That
I've been there too.
was,
I love
yeah.
Ireland.
Just like it felt
Surprisingly
like
good
going home.
food.
Yeah, yeah, because they're like
I
not
wasn't
known for their
expecting
food.
that. No. Every time I've had Irish food in the US, it's been like, ugh. But yeah, it was super fresh, really light and healthy. I was not expecting that at all. Tons of seafood. I mean, I was
Yeah,
on the coast, so
makes sense.
all good. Yeah.
Use what's around. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. I thank you so much for doing this and giving us a little insight into both the crazy theater world and the fun coaching world. And I just appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Well, it was good to reconnect. And for everybody listening and watching, I will see you next time.